Hello there. It's Thursday night. I know it's not Wednesday, it's Thursday. This is the Football Diehards YouTube channel. I'm Bob Harris from Football Diehards. You know me from the website, you know me from the radio program. You know me from here, our live streams. We call this on the hot seat, though usually on Wednesday nights. Plan is to do every Wednesday night at 7, every Saturday at noon Eastern time. And sometimes we shake it up if we need to. Thank you for coming. I'll give everyone a few minutes to get in here. We're planning to have Gary Davenport on, the great IDP mastermind who knows a lot more than just IDP. But we're having a little trouble with the sound. So we'll see if we can get that rectified in the background while I'm chatting with all you lovely people. The owners' meetings this week provided a wealth of non-news news, right? The same kind of situation. Hello, Brian. Thanks for coming. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Appreciate all your time and effort and energy and showing up to here. I'll be happy to be taking your questions throughout. If Gary shows up, he will also take them. And if he doesn't show up today, we'll make this work another time because that's what we do. But anyway, a lot of chatter this week, right? Like endless chatter. It's like almost like the first couple of days of the combine where all the coaches are in one place, all the owners and general managers are in one place, and everyone's talking about things and saying pretty much nothing, right? You got to really sort through the tea leaves to figure out what people are actually saying. I do think we have some information, though, some pretty solid information on a couple of the major stories that we've been dealing with and we're going to continue dealing with. I think the top of the list is going to be Lamar Jackson, who is being a little more vocal, right, on his Twitter at least, stating his case out there. Arthur Blank kind of suggested that maybe one of the concerns of various owners is that he's not durable enough. Well, he came out and said, "The hell with that. I am plenty durable enough. You guys know me. I'm injury agnostic." I agree with him, right? Anyone can get hurt. Everyone can get hurt. Does his style of play open him up to, the possibility or the greater likelihood that he'll be hurt? Maybe. Hasn't been hurt every year, right? It's been hurt the last couple of years. Injuries happen. I'm the same way about Christian McCaffrey. You all know this, and pretty much any player. I mean, if you don't have a chronic injury, I mean, there's a difference. Just let's put it this way. There's a difference between being chronically injured and having a chronic injury. There are guys who get hurt enough. It's heavy usage, all these things. The things we love in fantasy, the things that make players appealing in fantasy are also things that are dangerous for us in fantasy, right? Heavy usage, high volume, extremely athletic play, all these things, the physics of the game itself. Hello, Mr. Scampers. Thanks for coming. I talk a lot about the physics of the game. Where the bodies seem to be getting bigger, the speeds are increasing, mass, force, velocity, all these things end up, the joints don't change, right? No matter how much these guys work out, right? They're working out, the muscles are getting bigger, the speeds are increasing. Are the structures that hold all these things together also increasing and improving? So there's going to be issues with any player, right? Good afternoon, Dame. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you. And again, if you're here for the Gary Davenport portion of this program, we are working on that. We had a little issue with the sound as we were setting up, so hopefully we get him squared away, and if not, it'll be you and me. We'll be riding solo, people. So appreciate your questions if you have them. But going back to Lamar Jackson, look, I don't think there's any change. I think the change here is he seems to be coming out and being a little more vocal. We're hearing more that he does not want to carry on with the Baltimore Ravens, who don't seem to care. They love him. Look, they essentially have control. But you see more and more people starting to think it's possible. We're starting to hear the talk. Wow, Lamar might not play this season. I think Lamar will probably play this season. But honestly, if we go back a few years ago, Le'Veon Bell changed the equation for all of us, right? Nobody was going to not make, like in Lamar's case, $32 million, $2 million a week to play football or to sit out, and I think we've seen that maybe people will. Hello, Joe Aber. Thanks for coming. So just, we'll see how this plays out. I'm starting to feel like, clearly teams aren't out there pushing to make offers or out there pushing offers. Maybe they're waiting for the time to be right. Lamar has made it known through people not named Lamar specifically that he would like to play for the Patriots of New England. We've heard a little talk about this. Bob Kraft said, he's not necessarily, not necessarily, against such a move, but said it would be Bill Belichick's call. I'm telling you, Bill Belichick. Hello, Andrea. Bill Belichick would not be against such a move either. So think about this. You guys chime in on this. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. So you're Bill Belichick. You're winding down your career. It's been lustrous, right? It's been fantastic. You've done amazing things in New England, and it's taken a downturn. You thought you could maybe mortgage a few years down the line, what the team's salary cap or what kind of issues it's going to have to deal with, and you could have a few more years of success. I don't know. Maybe Bill Belichick wouldn't do that. I would do that. I would totally do that. I'm Bob Harris. I'm totally willing to sell out for short-term success. No, we'll see. I mean, could this be the move? I don't think anything is going to happen soon. Maybe we'll find out something just before the draft. I think teams that are going to, if a team is going to make an offer, they're going to make it after that, right? Like they're not going to give up this year's draft picks. They're going to give up another year's draft picks. So we'll see. We're still working on Gary, by the way, I'm told in the background. So hang in there. We'll see if we can't get it together. I'd love to hear Gary's thoughts on this as well, because I have all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories here I'm throwing out that, would the Patriots be interested? The Colts have said that they would be interested, right? And maybe they still are. So this could be an issue, and semantics come into play here. Guys, chime in on this one if you like as well. So we're of the mind that Lamar wants a fully guaranteed contract because that's what Deshaun Watson got. Do we know this for sure? No, we don't know this for sure because I have not heard Lamar say, I want all my money guaranteed. But we are hearing, seems fairly reliably, that he would like more of his money guaranteed than Deshaun Watson's. Well, if this is a bigger contract, just in general, more something along the lines of Patrick Mahomes' contract, and a portion of it was fully guaranteed, maybe the portion more than what Deshaun Watson's was guaranteed. Look, he's got a fair point, right? He's not coming in with the kind of baggage that Deshaun Watson's came into Cleveland with, right? He had a lot of leverage, though, did Deshaun Watson, apparently. So I don't know. We'll be watching this one. I think the ungrade outcome for fantasy managers right now, for those of us in the best ball rooms, and God, Lord, I'm in way too many of them right now, is I'm kind of avoiding. I don't need to drive down that lane right now. Am I willing to get a share or two if it's cheap enough? Yes, because I'm willing to buy anything if it's cheap enough. I don't care. I'm old, mean, cheap. I will take my senior citizens discount. Andrea does not think the Colts will do this. I don't think the Colts will do a fully guaranteed contract. I know Jim Irsay has basically said as much. But what if it's not fully guaranteed? What if it's just a big chunk of it is guaranteed? I mean, Kyler Murray's a big chunk of his is guaranteed. Not that big a chunk, not $230 million worth. But I don't know. If you're sitting there and you're saying, wow, Kyler Murray got a pretty good contract, pretty big contract, Lamar Jackson deserves a better contract than that. Lamar Jackson deserves a better contract, or at least merits to be in the same conversation as what Deshaun Watson got, because let's say Lamar is a pretty good citizen, right? And has been successful and has taken teams to greater success than Deshaun Watson ever did.
Yeah, I can hear Bob.
Oh, I hear Gary in the background. Look at that. This sounds like sound. Sounds like we're about to get Davenported here, people. We're going to Davenport into the future. But we'll give it a second here and see if he pops up on my screen. But it looks like we're getting close. But anyway, so that's kind of where we're at with Lamar. Yeah, I think, I don't need to dive in right now and say I need some Lamar. I don't need that right now unless I'm getting a really good discount. If I'm getting a really good discount, I might buy into it. But I don't need to force the issue. Let me just... All right, that sounds like we got a plan. So I think that those are the teams. The Colts, and I know Andrea's saying they won't do that. I don't think anyone will, right? And I think for the reasons I've talked about on this live stream before, is like nobody wants to do the Colts negotiation for them, or the Ravens. And I think that's what people will think, right? Is they're doing this basically because they can't get a deal done, and they can't. And they haven't been able to. And maybe this gives a dose of reality to Lamar Jackson. Oh, look, this is what everyone's offering. Well, I guess what the Ravens offering is okay. But it sounds like Lamar is like, pretty tired of this. Anyway, a lot going on there. Aaron Rodgers, nothing new there, except it does sound like there's progress being made. Everyone's being patient. The Jets aren't excited. Joe Hebert says Lamar's ego isn't doing him any favors. I don't know that it is or isn't. I mean, maybe he's just determined. Maybe he feels like he has a certain value and he damn well wants it, and he's going to stick by his guns. I don't know if that's his ego or maybe he's not good at being an agent. Like, I hear the argument from people who discuss this. Like, Lamar needs an agent. He needed an agent 2 years ago. He's missed out on a lot of money. Maybe he feels that. Maybe he feels like he wants to make all that damn money right now. It's entirely possible, right? So we'll see. I don't know if it's either ego or just a feeling of missing out or a feeling of like, damn it, I just want what I'm worth, right? I don't think maybe he doesn't feel like he's asking too much. We'll see with the Aaron Rodgers, the latest details on that. Woody Johnson spoke and, said he's going to be patient. They think it's going to happen. Robert Saleh said the same. The Packers know they have to move on eventually here. I mean, what else is going to happen? At some point, Aaron Rodgers shows up in Green Bay and says, hey, where's my $60 million? Are they going to pay him that? No, they don't want to pay him that. They want to get out of this. It's just a matter of meeting sounds like the financial portions of this are worked out, and it's just the trade compensation that has to get worked out. So if they can get that worked out, great. It'll happen soon. Does it have to happen before the draft? Not necessarily. It could happen pretty much at any time. I think we're getting close to having Gary. Could happen at any time. They could pull him in, and he says he knows. Yes, he's familiar with Nathaniel Hackett, so they know what's going. Feels like he knows what's going on. So doesn't have to learn an offense. I think it would be great if he was there for the entire offseason program. Sorry if I'm a little distracted. I hear them working in the background, so I'm hoping that we get everything set up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I hear Gary in the background still working away. Sounds like they're very close. But anyway, so if Aaron Rodgers, once this gets settled, I don't know that I'm like pushing any harder. I do think he'll have way more value. Look at what happened. Gary Davenport just showed up to save the day, as I sit here. Look, hey Gary, that's a nice background you got there, man. How'd that happen?
Little arts and crafts, some NFL pennant set, and a ton of double-sided tape, and a little bit too much time on my hands.
Baling wire, duct tape, it all works.
Hey, if you can't fix it with duct tape, it can't be fixed.
Gary Davenport makes everything better, everybody, and I'm glad he made it on. So I'll quit stammering on about the fortunes of things we don't know the outcomes of, and we'll work on things we have a little better idea. In case you all don't know, Gary Davenport, you can follow him on Twitter at IDP Sharks. IDP stands for Individual Defensive Players. Gary is known for this, but the dirty little secret is Gary's smart at all this. The entire range of things. You find his work at Bleacher Report, Football Diehards, Fantasy Sharks, NBC, Football Guys, pretty much everywhere that they do fantasy football, you'll find Gary. You'll find him on my radio program and the website. So great to have you on, Gary. Thanks for making it. I know we've had some interesting developments here in recent weeks. I've been talking about while you were getting everything. Your hat's crooked, Gary. Fix that up.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. It's not your head, it's your hat. So we've been talking about Lamar Jackson. I know there are a lot of varying opinions out there. Lamar is greedy. Lamar wants, and he should be greedy. You only get so many shots, but he should have been greedy a couple of years ago. He's missed out on a lot of money. He seems like he's trying to make it up all up now. Where do you think this ends up, right?
I think he winds up back in Baltimore at this point. I don't know that the offer sheet is coming or that a trade is going to come that's going to be enough for Baltimore to part with him. So, I mean, it's going to be awfully awkward once he does wind up back in Baltimore and, how they move forward from this. But I think he's going to be there at least one more year. Unless things just become so untenable that they wind up taking a lot less than I expected.
So I argue all the time, Gary, that the portions of this that we hear are all far more contentious than the rest of it. Like there's we're seeing the tip of an iceberg, and that everything going along underneath is generally in pretty good shape. I mentioned earlier in this live stream, however, that kind of Le'Veon Bell changed that equation a little bit, right? Nobody's going to miss that. Nobody's going to sit out and miss all that money. And then Le'Veon Bell did it. And I'm with you. I think the most likely outcome here is Lamar Jackson's a Baltimore Raven when the season starts, right? That'd be fantastic. But how fantastic would he be if he's a Baltimore Raven? He has not spent the entire offseason program working out with his teammates and learning a new offense with a new offensive coordinator and doing all the things that we'd like him to do to be better at the producing points that is the bread and butter of our fantasy leagues.
Oh, yeah. You got to figure it's going to be a hit to his fantasy value. The question is how much? How long is he going to sit out? Is this something that's going to be resolved in June or August or the first week of October? And the longer it drags into the summer and into fantasy draft season, the more you're going to have to drop Jackson down draft boards. Now, if that means you get him as QB 14 in August, and then 3 weeks before this, or 2 weeks into the season, he comes back, and by 5 or 6 weeks in, he's relatively close to being Lamar Jackson again, that could wind up being great value. Or it could totally blow up in your face. I mean, Lamar did the entire Baltimore offense, so long as this hangs over the team, is the great unknown. There's just no talent.
Right, and I think that's a problem. And learning new offense is going to be an issue. I know Todd Monken kind of downplayed the notion. Look, it's just football, right? Which is, what else is he going to say? They're not going to say anything to offend Mr. Lamar Jackson beyond however offended he might or might not be based on the offers he's gotten. The other similar situation is the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, where he feels like maybe he knows this offense. So Aaron Rodgers, Gary, often laments that, they aren't putting the talent around me. The Jets are putting the talent around him, or at least adhering to his wish list. Sounds like they're still not out of the Odell Beckham picture and they're willing to do things. And that he knows this offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, he's super tight with. But if he's not there for OTAs, if they don't get this going, and maybe that's one of the reasons they're in no rush, because they know he's probably not going to show up for OTAs. Isn't that kind of on him? Wasn't that on him last year that he wasn't on the same page with his young receivers because he didn't show up to put in the work?
Right. And I wonder if we're going to see, I have a fear, especially in fantasy leagues, that we're going to see Aaron Rodgers get overdrafted because, he went to the Jets. He goes to this new offense that he knows, and the weapons there are so much better than Green Bay. And, oh, my God, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers at his very best for fantasy managers. Most years, even when Aaron Rodgers was playing it at MVP level, he was an okay weekly starter. He wasn't, a top 3, top 4 guy. So I think you're going to see too many people going out there willing to pay, if not top 5, top 6 or 7 price tag for him. And once you get to that range of fantasy quarterbacks, I can wait 4 or 5 rounds after when Aaron Rodgers will likely be drafted, assuming that he winds up in New York, which I think everybody does. They're just guys I can get much later who are going to give me the same number of points. I won't get as many darkness retreats. So if your league awards points for darkness retreats, you definitely need to get on board.
I feel like we should all be building that into our scoring systems, everybody. Darkness retreats are 3 points.
Absolutely.
So I feel like we're all skeptical, and the pieces around him are good. One of the things I've noticed, I've talked about here before, is that Garrett Wilson, if you go to Fantasy Pros, I think he's number 10 at expert consensus rankings, still in that range. I know in the ADPs and the best balls I'm in, and I'm in a lot of them, he is probably wide receiver 10 to 14 range. Are we already, is this move already baked in, or an improvement at quarterback already baked in for Garrett Wilson? Is he at his ceiling now where we're drafting him, or could he maybe be a top 5 wide receiver when all is said and done?
I'm inclined to think the for the I wonder. I feel like if there are a lot of people who, if they pay a top 10, even top 15 price tag for Garrett Wilson, 2-3 weeks into the season, they're going to be blowing up message boards and asking us what's wrong with Garrett Wilson. If only because, especially if Rodgers takes some time before he finally shows up for training camp, and so that's time taken away from working with his new receivers. And we've seen from Aaron Rodgers in the past, this is a guy who likes to go with what he knows. He likes to throw to players he has a comfort level with. That's why the Jets ran out and overpaid Allen Lazard, was to get Aaron Rodgers his little buddy. So it might take a little while for him and Garrett Wilson to click. Now, I think they will, if only because I believe Garrett Wilson is a fantastic young talent. But it could be a bit of a slow start this year. And if you're paying top 10 numbers, you don't want to see a slow start. You want out the gate.
Right. I agree with that 100%. So we're talking to Gary Davenport. If y'all have questions, go ahead and put them into the chat. I will moderate those questions and pass them along to Gary. Also, if you could subscribe to the channel, appreciate it. Just hit the subscribe button. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button. I'm going to go ahead and hit the dislike button just because I'm a self-loather and I like to get the ball rolling. Thank you, Gary. I know Gary dislikes me. It's perfectly fine. We actually see each other in person, and it's like we actually kind of get along a little bit. So in a related note with the Jets, Gary, I just, Breece Hall, kind of people drafting him like he's going to be ready week one, even though I think none of us expect him to be ready week one. How do you feel about Breece Hall and his value in general?
Oh, if he's fully healthy, I love him. The problem is he fully healthy? When will he be fully healthy? There's so many questions with so many running backs that I think people are just looking for a guy to cling to. Like, okay, this is my guy. This is the guy that's going to put up numbers this year. And healthy, I think Breece Hall is absolutely capable of that. But, it's another guy where, again, you may have a sluggish September, a slow start to October. And if you don't have a plan B baked into your roster, then you start the season 2 and 4. It's not fun to be freaking out about making the playoffs before we get to Halloween. So if you're going to spend that kind of on Breece Hall, just make sure you have a plan B. 4 or 5. Even if it's a guy you think will just start the season getting carries and will lose those carries later in the year, you just need the touches early.
So could Michael Carter be that guy? A double-digit running back, you got a guy that you're picking up in well after round 10 in most of the drafts I've been in. Could he be that guy that carries you over until Breece Hall comes to life?
Yeah. You're not going to get Breece Hall numbers out of him, but Carter's shown he can be an okay RB2 type. And you have to be realistic about what you're going to get out of these kind of short-term fixes. You could always run out and get Rashad Penny and just ride that for however many weeks of Rashad Penny we get this year, because it's going to be a number hopefully more than 0 and less than 17. So will it be 4 or 11 or 2? I don't know.
I hear you. So a lot of, and I think we're all looking back to last year a little bit and thinking, wow, this is this is kind of a J.K. Dobbins situation. We'll have to see what's going on with Breece Hall. He was so super good. We're very excited. Javonte Williams, another one we're going to have questions about. Maybe the draft reveals some of the answers that we were looking for here in due time. Free agency, though, has revealed some things. And I know you had an article up on Bleacher Report, winners and losers. Let's talk about some of the winners and losers, because I'm happy about the losers as well, because I want to avoid them. But I know at quarterback, I think you've had the big winner, for you was Dak Prescott, and I don't disagree with that. Explain.
Oh, I just improved weapons around him. The Cowboys went and got him a secondary receiver. We saw last year the Cowboys gambled and lost where Amari Cooper was concerned. They figured that we can just kick Amari Cooper to the curb, dump salary. CeeDee Lamb will be fine. Michael Gallup will step up. All will be right with the universe. Which, the Cowboys won 12 games. It's not like they were a terrible team, but you could see the impact that had on that offense. So for Dallas to go get a guy of Brandon Cook's stature, that's a big get for Dak Prescott. It's one more target. I think we can see, provided that Dak can get over the whole throwing the ball to the other team thing, which is bad. You shouldn't do that. I think we're going to see a rebound season from Dak. He's one of those guys that I think you'll be able to get after Aaron Rodgers comes off the board, that if he can correct the turnovers, I think Dak Prescott's the kind of guy you can get value with in fantasy drafts. It's the kind of quarterback I wind up with every year, but I'll probably have quite a few shares of Dak this fall.
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense to me. I think it's easy to overlook, Brandon Cooks, before we forget, teams don't like him, but we like him. He's been great. 6 out of 9 seasons has over 1,000 receiving yards. think from 2015 to 2019 or something, he was a top 15 fantasy wide receiver. I don't know that all that went away his last few years in Houston, as much as Houston did not help him out. So we'll figure that out. You had a loser at quarterback. I'm not sure I agree, but go ahead and throw this out there.
Oh, you're fresh in my memory. I wrote that article like a week ago, man.
CJ Stroud.
Oh, that's just because look at the team he's going. I mean, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the quarterbacks going in the first two spots because we know they're going to be quarterbacks. Stroud and Anthony Bryce Young. They're just going to team. The West are just. The Panthers added Adam Thielen, but
and DJ Chark.
Adam Thielen was again a guy that was fun once, but not so much fun anymore. Just their learning curve, and I wouldn't freak out too much in a dynasty because with quarterbacks in a dynasty format, you got to know that anything you're going to get from them year one is kind of a bonus. I mean, you can't expect if you're expecting a rookie quarterback to help carry you to fantasy glory, then you're playing in a super flex. And if you're playing in a super flex dynasty and you're drafting that early, you're not going to fantasy glory anyway, so don't worry about it. I love CJ Stroud as a talent. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft class, but they're going to have to add a little bit more around him.
So I'm kind of with you. I like Stroud at the top of the list. I think, Bryce Young is going to be the default second. Anthony Richardson, I'm going to put at number 3 just because the athleticism. I guess the workout, the pro day today, he didn't change any minds, but I think everyone's buying him for upside. It seems, Gary, that there is a riser at the position, though, who's maybe moved ahead of Will Levis a little bit. I know our guy John Lobb likes him an awful lot, and that's Hendon Hooker. What do you think about him?
Oh, looked great for Tennessee last year. It's going to be interesting to see if he does overtake Levis, especially given the injury concerns. And if nothing else, it gives that team looking to take a 5th quarterback in round 1, which I think we could see 5 quarterbacks taken in the front half of round 1. I mean, at least if you feel a little bit better about Hooker, then after those top 4 come off the board, which could happen, bang, 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 you don't feel like, okay, that's it, we're done. We can't take a quarterback in round 1. So I think you can make a pretty good argument for taking Hooker over Levis. I mean, I know he's got a great arm, but you look at what happened last year at Kentucky, and it seemed like he took a step back. And he drinks mayonnaise in his coffee, which I can't do that. So that's the kind of thing.
Butter in my coffee, it's like a similar kind of thing. You're just looking for the
fat. Well, butter is one thing. Everybody loves butter, but mayonnaise is another.
You would think that's like, well, not so. As Anthony Richardson, just curious your view of him. I feel like everyone's taking him for this huge, vast potential. Does the team need to be prepared to let him sit for a year? And are we sure he's not Malik Willis?
I'm not sure he's not Malik Willis. I mean, I hope for the sake of the team that's probably going to take him in the top 5 of the draft that he's not. His ceiling is sky high and his floor is 3 stories underground. So he's going to need, I think he is going to need time, probably a season to sit behind someone. He's going to need coaching. And I know Josh Allen has been the exception to this rule, but quarterbacks who are not accurate in college make me nervous because for the most part, 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, inaccurate college quarterbacks turn into inaccurate professional quarterbacks.
Josh Allen would like a word with you, sir.
I said he's the exception to the rule. I mean, for every rule, there's an exception, but there are a lot of inaccurate college quarterbacks who went to the NFL and Jake Lockard.
It's true. It's very true. All right, let's go back to the free agency. There was a whole raft of running backs. Kind of finally, the log jam broke, and we had some guys move. And I think some of them went to fairly fortuitous places. I have long been lamented the Eagles' usage of one Miles Sanders or lack thereof of consistent usage. Look, they used him a fair amount last year. Not as much as I would have liked, but they got pretty good results. We saw as a rookie, he was a phenomenal playmaking threat. What is he as a Carolina Panther, Gary?
I think the quality of his touches might go down a little bit, but I think you're going to see that spike in quantity that you want. And to me, the big question, I don't know that he's going to be an RB1 again. That's probably asking a lot. It's going to be scoring opportunities. Can the Panthers move the ball and score points? I mean, if they can and you can get him down inside 5-yard line, then he'll probably do all right touchdown-wise. And in that case, I think high-end RB2 numbers aren't an unreasonable expectation. I don't mind the landing spot because, like you said, I mean, granted, the touches he got last year in Philadelphia were awesome because the offensive line's blowing people away and the team's moving the ball and they're spending all kind of time in opposing territory. But you would like to see him actually get a chance to be a featured back, and that from all indications, that's what he's going to be in Carolina. I am not afraid of Chuba Hubbard, that's for sure.
Yeah. So there was a little game of kind of interconnected musical chairs, and we'll see. Maybe a running back who can also catch the football might be a good friend of a young quarterback, one that might be selected first overall in this next month's draft. So we'll see what happens there. Hayden Hurst would like to be that friend as well. So there'll be a lot of guys. Adam Thielen would like to be that friend. I don't know that he's a deep threat. DJ Chark, we'll see if that ankle holds up. So the interconnected pieces, Gary, kind of we'll look at the, a piece went to Chicago, a piece left Chicago, went to Detroit, a piece left Detroit, went to New Orleans. Let's run through some of those pieces. Let's start with the David Montgomery piece moving to Detroit, where he will run behind a road grading offensive line. Like maybe one of the best lines in football if it remains healthy. Is DeAndre Swift, I think, the ADP is going to drop. Will he be a fly in the ointment at least, or could he be more to David Montgomery? How are you valuing David Montgomery in this move to Detroit?
I think in theory he could be more. The question for fantasy managers is going to be how many people anticipate that he could be more. How far does that ADP fall? Because, Swift had value last year. Finished as a low-end RB2. And Montgomery, well, I expect he'll be the lead back because Dan Campbell and they've made it abundantly clear that they do not see DeAndre Swift as any kind of an every down running back. Montgomery's efficiency has just been so bad. So if he struggles, maybe we'll see Swift eat into that percentage and it'll become closer to an even split. I lean Montgomery of the two, if only because I figure he's probably going to get 60-65% of the touches. But I don't know that he has any kind of stranglehold on that percentage. If he goes out and averages 3.8 yards a carry behind an offensive line that, will run people over. So, if he doesn't go out there and have some success, I think you might see them give DeAndre Swift a little more work. Question then becomes how much more work can you give Swift before you have to worry about him breaking down again?
Yeah, so I'm with you there. I do like the offensive line. I keep thinking Swift is going to come back and, once we all jump off the train, he'll come back and smite us all down. A few comments here. I did not know that Will Levis had only played 2 years as a true QB. Before that, he was used as a Taysom Hill. There's something to be said for a Taysom Hill. I don't think that's a compliment, though. And we'll get to Joe Aber wants to know your thoughts on the linebacker class. We'll get to that as well. Some of the other associated pieces in these moves, Deontay Foreman leaves Carolina, goes to Chicago. For a brief moment, Khalil Herbert's star was shining brightly. Is it shining less brightly now with Deontay Foreman in town? And what kind of role do you expect for these two?
It would certainly appear to be. I think Foreman's probably going to be the nominal lead guy. I think it's going to be a pretty even split touches-wise. I think you'll see Herbert used more in the passing game. And unfortunately, I think Foreman's probably going to get most of the goal line work. So it didn't help either of them. I guess they're both low-end RB2. Unless, and of course, with always a caveat, unless a guy gets hurt and kind of clears a path for the other one. This is where we're at with so many NFL backfields now. The bell cows are gone, and you've got to try to figure out whether you want the guy getting 61% or the guy getting 64%.
Right. I think let's touch on a couple more of those. I'm talking to Gary Davenport. You can follow him on Twitter at IDP Sharks. I keep forgetting the Sharks part. I knew the IDP at IDP Sharks. because that's Fantasy Sharks. That's like an early thing. You also find them on Bleacher Report, footballdiehards.com. If you're a subscriber during the season, if you haven't subscribed, you should go to Football Diehards now. Use the promo code Diehards, get 15% off. Does fantastic work with us in the season with his IDP rankings. Also, his the Shadow Knows column where he covers all the shadow coverages each and every week. So a couple of the running back moves kind of left us in similar situations. Mr. Scampers loves Taysom Hill. Hello, Albert. Thanks for coming. And I love Taysom Hill too, but man, Levis is kind of, it seems like he looked like the prototypical guy to me. Now he looks less like it. I'm kind of falling out of love with him. I'm sorry, Will. I think he'll be over. I think he'll get over it. But the other running back moves. So the Buffalo-Houston pipeline opened up. Devin Singletary, first Damien Harris goes to Buffalo. Then Devin Singletary signs with Houston. How do we feel about Damien Harris in Buffalo? Is this Brandon Beane talked about this, wanting a bigger back to maybe get a little something done? Is this the place for Damien Harris to get something done? I always like to see the Harrises do well. I don't know what it is, just a Harris thing.
Yeah, I think durability is going to be a big part of it. Can he stay healthy, which he wasn't able to do last year in New England? Much like you said, Khalil Herbert had his shining moment. So did James Cook there for a minute. It was going to be awesome. All those James Cook dynasty shares were all shined up and gleaming in the sunlight. And now, nope. We're going to see probably something similar to what we've seen in Buffalo for I don't even know how many years. It's going to be a split. And the problem with the split is even if you try to pencil in, you can say, well, Damien Harris will be the short yardage back, but he won't be the goal line back because Josh Allen is the goal line back for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think the price is cheap enough, though, on Harris that I find a little appeal there, right? James Cook's still going well ahead of him. These things may regulate as we get closer and more people are paying attention. I think the people that are here in this live stream every single week, they're kind of trying to stay on top and stay ahead of things. Probably most of you are in the best ball rooms. Many of you are in there with me, and I appreciate that. So you're still getting great value on Damien Harris. Devin Singletary's dirt cheap. How do we feel about him and Dameon Pierce where they moved to Houston for Mr. Singletary?
I think it's another one where we're going to, because Dameon Pierce, I think he was third in carry percentage among NFL running backs last year. That number is going to go down because we saw as the season wore on last year, so did Dameon Pierce. And part of that's the rookie wall, but part of it's just wear and tear. So I think Pierce is still the guy, but I'll be curious to see if one guy starts slow and the other one's a hot hand, if we don't, again, turn into just a full-blown committee attack, hot hand type of deal where good luck knowing in any given week which one of those backs is going to be the guy who's going to get 60% of the touches and score a touchdown while the other guy winds up with, 8-9 touches and 40 yards. And it's the new world we're in. You could probably count on one hand right now the number of actual bell cow running backs there are in the NFL.
Yeah, we're having a little discussion, about the possibility of drafting on Sirius an all-time team. And I can think back to all the running backs I drafted over time. We were so spoiled in the 80s and 90s with feature backs. But like the game evolves and we make adjustments and the necessary adjustments. By the way, Dalton Schultz also goes to Houston. They're going to have likely a rookie quarterback starting, or at least trying to work his way into the lineup. Is Dalton Schultz still a guy you view as like maybe a value if he drops down to the bottom end of the top 10?
Yeah, if he drops that far, I'd go for it. Again, the targets aren't going to be as good as they were in Dallas, but I think he'll see a higher target share in Houston. And you also have to take into account that's a team that's probably going to be playing catch-up a lot. So garbage time numbers count the same as all the rest of them. Why I've been rostering, I can't say it about the Jaguars now, but for years, sorry, Mike, but that's why we'd roster Jaguars players was garbage time numbers.
Dempsey just changed colors a little bit, like a little shade or his red.
I'm sure. I feel terrible about it.
If you have questions out there in the chat, go ahead and throw them in. Joe Aber had one for you, Gary. He wanted to know your thoughts on the linebacker class this year. He thinks edge and cornerback look great. Where are we at on linebackers?
It's not an especially talented or deep class. I don't know that we'll see any linebackers drafted on day one. I do think you'll probably see Jack Campbell out of Iowa and Trenton Simpson out of Clemson go pretty early in round 2. Campbell's a really smart guy, great instincts, hard nose. He's an Iowa linebacker. I mean, he just comes from that mold. If there's a question with him, he's not super athletic or rangy, but I do think he'll be a fine NFL. He's the most pro-ready of the class. And then Trenton Simpson is kind of like Isaiah Simmons if Isaiah Simmons was 3 inches taller and weighed 40 more pounds. So he's that athleticism, but on an actual linebacker frame. I'd say he probably has a little bit higher ceiling than Campbell, but it may take a little while to get there.
Great comment by Mr. Scampers here, by the way, on the previous item. So more excited. It's ridiculous that I'm more excited about Singletary being a backup as opposed to a starter in Dynasty League because he knows now not to start him unless Pierce goes down. That's the problem with these guys is you're never starting them on the right week. Any of these guys, there were times when DeAndre Swift would do you well. You just never know when it's going to be. That's why they invented best ball people. In dynasty leagues, we have to take a little safer approach. Made an interesting trade in the dynasty league this week, Gary. You can grade it. I had Jamar Chase, and I have the 106. Okay. It's a super flex draft. I have Josh Allen as one quarterback. Derek Carr as another quarterback. I also have Jordan Love. So I'm feeling pretty good. It's a league of heavy hitters, and no one's going down without a pretty big fight. So I got an offer from our friend Pat Thorman. Great offer, I thought, well crafted, giving me Stephon Diggs, Tyler Algier. I'm weak at running back, and the 109 in exchange for Jamar Chase in the 402. Thought, damn, that's pretty close. Well, Pat also had the 105 to go with my 106. So I countered. So I ended up doing this deal. I moved on from Jamar Chase to get Stephon Diggs, Tyler Algier, the 105 to go with my 106. I gave him Chase and the 402. I felt like we both hurt a little bit after this one, but we shook things up a little bit. How do you feel about that trade?
That's not a bad deal, honestly, for either one of you. I mean, depending on what kind of shape his team's in, I assume he's comfortable enough giving away that 105. Now, you said, you're weak at running. You're weak at running back, so you're going to have to pay that bit of a premium to get that guy you need. Diggs is no Jamar Chase. We all know that. Right. But it's not like he's not cat food either. Yeah, that's a good deal. And plus, you're going to you figure out 105, 106, you're going to hit on a receiver in that range too, most likely.
I feel like I might get a running back. Since it is a super flex, it's possible that all the quarterbacks go off. So with the 105 and the 106, here was the gamble. I'm going to either get Jahmyr Gibbs and a quarterback, or I'm going to I'll get Smith and Jigba and maybe Gibbs, if all the quarterbacks are, but I might take a quarterback there anyway because it's a super flex league. I started out in this league with Andrew Luck as my first overall pick. He retired that year in the initial year of this league, so I've been scrambling ever since. So everyone has quarterback FOMO. Nobody wants to miss out. So it'll be interesting to see how. But I felt like that was the gamble. Is I'm going to get two players I'm going to be really happy with the 105 and 106. Right. I would not have gotten with the 109. And I hope Diggs holds it together. The flake factor makes me a little nervous. People, I would like to hear your questions. If you have trade questions, if you have draft questions, best ball related, more questions about the rookie class. Of course, I'm told Gary Davenport knows a little something about individual defensive players. If you have questions about that, as Joe Hebert did, hit us up. We've got a few more minutes here. We'd be happy to take your requests. In the meantime, you should stick around here. I'll be back on Saturday at noon Eastern time. I'll be on the radio then Saturday night. And by the way, we're going to do a mock draft. Raise your hand out there if you want me to try and get you into that mock draft on Saturday, noon Eastern time. We'll do it on Sleeper. It'll be a PPR draft. So if you leave a note in the comments, I'll try and get you an early link to that if we can, before we throw it out to the general public since you were here. I appreciate that. You can listen to us on SiriusXM, Mike Dempsey, the aforementioned, and myself. It's Rookie Scouting Portfolio release day, April 1. Matt Waldman will be joining us on the radio program, so you can check that out. So we have a question here from Brian Larkin, Gary. This offseason is a running back merry-go-round at pick 6. I just might go 0 RB with tight end Travis Kelce, then take a wide receiver in round 2. After that, 3 RBs. I've gone further than that, Gary. Where are you at?
I don't know, to be honest. I've reached a point where I'm not going to be going into drafts this summer with any kind of preset strategy because things are so much more open than they used to be. Gone are the days where the first 5 picks are going to be running backs. The 4 out of the first 6 might well wind up being wide receivers. Taking Kelce at the 1.6 is not necessarily a bad idea. Just let the draft come to you. I mean, go where the value is and be ready to pivot. I mean, don't necessarily go in saying, okay, I'm absolutely going to take Kelce and then a wide receiver and then 3 running backs. If there's a ridiculous value at running back on that pick in the second, grab that guy and then grab 2 wide receivers and then a couple running backs. Just go where the value is. Let the draft come to you. At least I hope I'm not going to start banging round pegs into square holes this summer, same as I always do. But I know once we get into the heart of draft season, I get twitchy if I don't take running backs early. So
right, I think I've had various approaches. I want to say there's a draft up on the screen behind us, and I think I went really unusual there. Which one is that? I want to say, I've gone somewhere. Started out with 3 running backs. That's been a rarity. And thank you, Andrea, for raising your hand. I'll get you a link in advance to that draft. I did do a single league where I went 3 running backs to start things out because it was just hard not to. The way the draft fell, I think I went Eckler, Henry, and who did I get in the 3rd? Then I went Breece Hall in the 3rd round because it seemed like I think that's this draft that's up. In fact, it is. If you look in the background, Eckler, Henry, Breece Hall. Then I went with 3 wide receivers and the tight end. I still got Waller there, and I think round 7. So. But I think in most of these leagues, I've been doing what Brian's doing. I'm going Travis Kelce fairly early. Anywhere from 1 to 6, I'm fine taking him. I don't do it every time. I think here's where I'm at, Gary. I have a top 6, right? It's basically, McCaffrey, Jefferson, Chase, Eckler, Kupp I still think is in there. I think he may still be a wide receiver, maybe 1 overall. I have him ranked ahead of Jefferson and Chase myself right now. But however, whatever order you like that, and Kelce, that group of 6. And if I get 6 different first picks overall, I will have 1 share of all of those, right? Because I think just, last year maybe taught me or maybe scared me or screwed me, however you want to face it. If you were all in on one guy, Jonathan Taylor, that didn't work out for you and all your first round picks overall. So I think I want to diversify a little bit. How do you feel about that approach?
Oh, I love it. I mean, because it seems like most years I get stuck in roughly the same slot in umpteen different drafts. My draft slots don't get scattered from 1 to 12. I'll pick 9th 11 times just because God hates me. And I like to change things up. I don't want to, when I'm done drafting my 22, 23 teams, I don't want 22 or 23 rosters that all look exactly the same. Because then, like you said, if you're wrong, if you are all in on a guy and every one of your rosters has that guy, then it takes 1 injury or 1 underperformer to make you miserable from September through December. So, yeah, I'm all for diversification. I'm all for mixing things up. I'm all for trying different strategies. I go 0 RB once in a while just to see what it feels like.
It feels good. I feel quite liberated by it, Gary.
It makes me. I don't know. I guess I'm just old and stubborn, but I get uncomfortable if I'm 3 rounds into a draft and I don't have a running back. I start looking at the board and scratching my leg like I've got some kind of itch.
So whether this is because of what we're talking about, or just maybe there's the overall value of running back seems to be a little diminished because there are more of them now. I think you go into this thing. You say, wow, I hit the 7th round. I'm still seeing a James Conner there. I know it wasn't great last year, but at that price, I'm okay. I see Joe Mixon going in the 6th round. Maybe it's a little uncertain, but at this time of year, I'm okay with that uncertainty. I'll deal with it. So I'm trying to follow the NFL money, right? Where is the NFL investing their capital? They're investing it in the passing game, right? So I'm hammering that early. And I'm waiting on the running backs, and it has not worked out horribly for me just yet. This draft in particular, the one you see over our shoulders, is the outlier for me. That's the first one I've done where I have 3 running backs before probably round 10, right? I mean, it just hasn't been working out that way. And I'm still not like out of love with the teams that I'm drafting, which is unusual for me because I am like an old school kind of running back heavy guy. So we'll see how it plays out. A couple questions. Brian Larkin throws in, how about Kelsey Mahomes? I'm seeing a lot of that, right? Like if someone drafts Kelsey around 6, they'll come back around and get Mahomes. I'm not against stacking. I don't want to overpay for a stack. I think in the early best balls I have been in, quarterbacks going in round 2, it's pretty much happening, Gary. Where are you at on quarterbacks just in general? When is the time for you to invest?
I figured we were going to see that this year because there was that top tier quarterbacks last year, and then the gap between them and the rest was so wide. I still don't know that I can be an early round quarterback guy. I mean, I won't say I never do it because especially, the industry drafts we do, quarterbacks tend to last longer than they will in a lot of other drafts. I mean, we'll do drafts, which I don't know that it'll happen this year, where no quarterbacks are taken first 4 or 5 rounds. But there's still that pack once you get those elite guys off the board. And I can understand the rationale behind taking them. I won't say that I never do. But there's still value to be had in those later round guys. And I can get them so much later that I can bang away at wide receiver or go hard at some of those speculative running back picks or make sure that I've got a tight end that I can trust every week. So I'm probably still going to be that quarterback 6 to 10 range guy more often than not this year. And that might be force of habit more than anything.
Yeah, I want to just check it. Dame Overboard is saying she's happy with the value she's seeing for like the Miles Sanders and some of the guys, what we were talking about here. I want to say, who else was it? James Conner. I think the value's been great. I think the value's been great for like, Deontay Foreman. Like, I don't know what he's going to be, but I'm not paying for him to be anything special, right? And he might well be. So I think there are a lot of values. Just check the ADP on these guys real quick on best ball 10s at least at the running back position. You're seeing Joe Mixon as running back 16. I've been getting him a little later than that. You're seeing Aaron Jones as running back 20. I'm still okay with that. Cam Akers is running back 22. I'm okay with that. James Conner is running back 25. That's a running back 3, James Conner. I don't know what else Arizona's doing early this season, Gary, except running the football. Maybe the draft puts something, throws a curveball at me there. But Miles Sanders at 27, running back 27, not 27th overall, wow. Running back 27. David Montgomery, running back 29. Isaiah Pacheco, 28. So I think there is a lot of value to be if you're waiting around, if you're willing to hold out. I mean, even going down to Rashad Penny at 41. Look, if he gets the same number of carries that Miles Sanders did last year, which seems like it's within the range of possible outcomes, he's going to be a lot better than what he's going in the double-digit rounds. So I do think there's a lot of value out there. I really do. So that's kind of where I'm going. That's why I'm kind of more comfortable, I think, going with the receiving game early on. And by the way, Gary, Mr. Scampers, he admits it's gross, but how much Jimmy G is he taking over Derek Carr? Or are we taking over Derek Carr? I'm splitting it up almost equally. I'm starting.
Yeah.
I felt like I got a little heavy on the Derek Carr, so I'm going a little bit over to the Jimmy G side. I feel really good about it because he's a very attractive man, and I like that on my roster. But where are you at?
Yeah, that's pretty much a 50-50 split. And I'm not counting on either one of those guys, but you figure...
Better weapons for Jimmy G, though, right? Because one of them is Devontae
Right, and Garoppolo's normally had a nice little floor to him. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go be Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know that having Devontae Adams is going to mean some big spike out of Jimmy G. He's going to go be Garoppolo, and which could mean good things for Josh Jacobs, unless they add another back, of course. Derek Carr, it's going to be what's Michael Thomas going to look like in New Orleans this year? I mean, is he going to be anything like the Michael Thomas we grew to love? Or is he now just resigned to being the new Michael Thomas, which is kind of a non-factor?
So Dame makes a good comment here. She likes those running backs a lot more than the receivers going in the 3rd and 4th round. Here's where I end up feeling like with pretty much every damn position. I get into the double-digit rounds, or let's say even like the 8th, 9th, 10th, and beyond. And I wonder why I drafted all those guys I drafted earlier when I'm getting the guys I'm getting at the price I'm getting them. I feel like I've overpaid for everything else on my roster. I don't want to start drafting until the 8th round. That's what I'm going to do from now. I'm just like taking a pass. But no, I totally feel that point. And I guess, there are positions. That's one of the reasons you start drafting early is to start getting a feel for how these things are going to play out when the drafts matter a little more, or when we have this. Just in, people, we don't have all the information we need to make the greatest picks of the year this time of year. But this is one of the part of that exercise, part of getting there. So are you doing any best ball drafting right now, Gary, or are you like waiting, keeping your powder dry?
I've done a couple, but I have not done much. I don't generally dip my toe too much in the draft pool until that thing at the end of April happens. It's part of that information that we need to know what we're doing.
That's for sure.
Right. So, but I've done a little, how it is. You just get itchy to draft a team or two every now and again. But I don't fault. I know there are a lot of people who enjoy best balls and want to start drafting them from the moment the Super Bowl ends right up until the next season starts. God bless them. Have fun. That's what we're all supposed to be doing with this hobby, pastime, obsession of ours, by the way, is having fun. Winning a little money's nice too, but we're supposed to have fun.
I'm doing way more than I have normally done in the past. I'm still well behind Dempsey, who probably has 50 ongoing at any moment. I'm trying to have about 10 ongoing at any moment, so I'm well into the double digits, staying overboard, doing drafts for the 2022 season, 2023 season, and she's crushing it. The 2022 season, I'm sure she's crushing it because I played with her in the 2022 season and was crushed. So there you have that. All right, everybody. Appreciate y'all coming. Appreciate Gary Davenport showing up. You should follow him on Twitter at IDP Sharks is where you go, because he works for everyone. The list is lengthy. It includes footballdiehards.com, where you'll find all my work. John Lobb has all his rookie information up at this point right now. So if you want to go check out his assessments for quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers, parts 1 and 2 both available. Tight ends available. We had him on here. If you missed that last Saturday, go ahead and go into the YouTube page and check it out. I'll be back here Saturday at noon for a mock draft. I have Andrea already signed up for it. If anyone else would like to get in there, just leave your name in the comments and I'll try to get you a link in advance of the actual draft. And we'll be on the Football Diehards radio program Saturday night. What is it, 7 to 9? If I can do the time zone translations in my head without screwing up. And we will have Matt Waldman on to talk about the rookie scouting portfolio just coming out on that very day. A great, impressive tome. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out, Matt Waldman, RSP.com. And go to footballdiehards.com. Sign up now. Early bird discount. Use the promo code DIEHARDS to get 15% off whatever you're ordering. And now we have to get off and talk about magazines because Gary's got a bunch of work to do to get ready for that. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your attendance. Once again, hit the subscribe button, the like button, all those things that help the algorithm love us.